Start recording. I'm very excited to be here with Ramona, onboarding you onto Coherence 2025 MVP, the spring program. So I'm here with Ramona, and I won't even try to say your surname before you tell me how to pronounce it.
Ramona Tudorancea. So my surname is actually purely Romanian. It's the Tudor core name, and then you add a couple of suffixes that says like belonging family, so on. But they're purely Romanian. So yeah.
Tudorancea. Beautiful. And you're joining Coherence 2025, representing which organization?
I would say the best fit would be ReiZen XYZ. So ReiZen is my pivoting this year towards more nature-inspired approaches. It's more of a business consulting framework. I'm normally a lawyer, so Ixian and legal engineering and like building up new legal technology is a big part of my work. But the other part of my work is can we build towards more nature-inspired approaches and make it a little bit more fun and engaging and playful and colorful and insert some rewilding into our corporate and social structures. And that part, ReiZen XYZ, gives me a lot more freedom to experiment and work with it. And we're having the Magical Earth Academy and then the Island Network are supported also by this, but also House of the Future and the art of future living generally.
Gosh, so tell me, that was a number of like four names there. So tell me about Ixian and these other projects that you're working on.
So Ixian is a company that we set up. It will have a law firm attached, headed in London, and it's essentially about reinventing law using Web3 technologies and emerging technologies generally, and making law a little bit less fragmented and costly and ineffective, and more like the supporting framework, supporting structures that it's aimed to be. So I'm one of the co-founders of Ixian, and this is the pillar of legal innovation. The ReiZen side is more, as I mentioned, is more the business side, is more nature-inspired approaches. And in there, I have three flagship projects that I'm promoting. The first one is an open source model, Island Network. So essentially, islands are coming together already around sustainability issues. I've been at the Island Innovation Conference in St. Kitts just before traveling to Bucharest. Over 400 people, participants from a lot of small islands came together around sustainability issues. This has been a movement going on for years already. They are converging, and this is an opportune moment to introduce them to Web3 technologies and building open source and what technology can do to unite them and to help them scale these efforts, right? Share the knowledge, the expertise. So the Island Network is part of that. And the other flagship project is the House of the Future, is trying to reinvent a little bit the vision about future living and project a techno-optimist perspective where people do not live in small boxes. People live in sort of like very comfortable, very modern. The House of the Future was designed by sort of one of the most visionary architects I know, Max Medina. And then it's like, it looks like it could take off at any moment and could fly, right? So it's like, I want to promote this vision. It's like, first of all, we can have a minimal environmental imprint, footprint, and but also we can build towards this more expansive version where people still have the comfort, all the modern amenities, but live in more in harmony with nature. So that's another part of the work. And then finally, the Magical Earth Academies. Imagine that um, the highest timeline possible, right? So highest timeline possible, planetary, healthy, global civilization, peaceful, in harmony with nature. How do we get there? So the insight that I had is that we have to bring together spirituality and art and science and technology and have them meet somewhere in a safe container, in a safe environment. And right now, the only place they can meet safely is in something that's playful, that's not really threatening or triggering resistance in people. So the Magical Earth Academy is meant to be playful engagement, like engaging with art, immersive experiences, but also connect the dots between the different fields of expertise, and then having people trigger people's curiosity in very playful ways, right? Non-threatening ways. And then they will do the work by themselves, right? If you put scientists together and then you intrigue them enough, they will go forward and research that, right? So and then new discoveries can stem from there. So this is what the Magical Earth Academy is about. And the key there is that I want to introduce, and this has been we had some good developments when I was in Florianopolis for IPA City. I want to introduce this sort of like multiple dimensions of value that we can track specifically for a project or a community, so that people can contribute along their own skill sets and interests, and have that contribution be valued in a very unique way relative to the value that they're bringing to a specific project, right? And then making this a more conscious approach. So designing a process as well as designing a mechanism. So I call this the proof of value model. And I've met a project called, in Brazil, there's this project called Valocracy that's very close to that. So we're going to be collaborating, seeing how we can create that together. So that's a lot.
That's a lot. It was really beautiful. So many connections I would like to make. Maybe actually, as part of Coherence, I would love to have a call, maybe with some other people also on a bunch of those projects. By the way, are you familiar with John Vervaeke?
I've heard of his work, but I'm not, we haven't met.
His favorite playlist, because for me personally, and everybody has their own things, he is the biggest and most important thinker of our times, because he has managed to bring together, through his scientific work, he's a professor of Buddhist philosophy and cognitive science, and he has managed to bring together cognitive science, spirituality, and mystical experience into a coherent understanding of what those things mean and how they incorporate into human cognition and understanding and experience. So I always kind of had a sense, no, in nature, nothing exists without a reason. It's just some things we don't know how to explain. So I always had some kind of a felt sense it could be brought together, but he's done it. He's incredible. And I understand what you're saying about not being triggering stuff. On the other hand, I think for me, I'm the other way. I'm trying to create places which are triggering, but bring people into a mature enough dialogue that they can look at their triggers and enjoy them as for the learnings that they bring. But that requires an audience with a degree of maturity into dialogue and the ability to explore differences with curiosity, respect, and interest. And that's a rare thing in modern society. So definitely we need spaces which enable people to bring people into those ideas in a gentle way as well. So that's really beautiful. So my next thing is going back to coherence itself. How do you understand coherence, and do you have any questions about it?
I looked into what you sent me, and I do have a lot of questions because if I understand correctly, this is uh, more about enabling coordination, but in a very high level, um, in a very high level way in terms of organizing this series of events, bringing people together, organizing the content, and having this, um, let's say, out there. But I'm not sure if you have plans, like at least I haven't seen beyond the cultural approach and the intellectual approach, if you have plans for like boots on the ground community type thing or infrastructure type things, or if it's going to move beyond, or it's just like the current, the nervous system synapses throughout the world that are forming right now.
Yes, thank you. So it is very much the synapses. Coherence is the simplest way to think about it, is a new kind of event which is really designed to take best advantage of online and things which are easy and smooth in online communication and possible thanks to online communication, plus bringing in AI as a first equal player into building collective intelligence. So, anytime we get a new technology, we do the same old stuff just with a new hammer. My favorite example is, I hope you're not, and you're a lawyer, you might still be receiving those emails of, I scanned the contract, can you please print it out, sign it, scan it, and send it back to me? Right? I mean, that's kind of digital, but not really, right? We're doing the exact.
I mean, it's cute. Yeah, it's cute, right? It's
It's
like
good,
it's
but
the first stage of the new poking a new technology. It's like, oh, how can I bring it back into my comfort zone?
I'm glad you find it cute, because I find it triggeringly, maddeningly annoying, especially since I clearly remember my good friends who are now all professors in computer science 30 years ago talking about cryptographic signing of documents, right? 30 years. So 30 years ago we had the technology. The math is probably 40 or 50 years old, right? And here we are now. Our best thing is like we make a. So anyways, the point is, we've done the same thing with conferences or how we meet, right? It's like, what's a conference? Well, one person speaks, everybody listens synchronously, and you get this thing like, come to this thing, and there's one person speaking and 100 really interesting people in silence on a Zoom. And I'm like, why couldn't you just send me the YouTube link for this, right? Like, what is the value of us being here synchronously? I'm in a spot synchronously with a whole bunch of really interesting people, and pretty much anybody there, the conversation I could have with them would be a better use of my time than synchronously listening to a person talk. So we aren't using the medium properly. Also, having experienced and done things, getting everybody together in a large group at one time, so it's a pain in the ass, right? Coordinating two people, especially with calendar links like we have now, is much, much easier. And for me, I am really interested in collective intelligence, in enabling the voice of the many to come together. Now I think through AI, we can have the voice of the many come together to create a meta conversation, a meta story, right? Not one which is top down written by a great guru that we all follow, but one which emerges from the conversations of all of the people. So coherence is bringing people into one-on-one dialogue, people that have interested things and they want to talk about interesting topics. Also, you can think of it as ecosystem scale build in public. Are you familiar with the idea of build in public?
Yes, I got the full blast of it at IPE City of Florianopolis, which was all about building in public. Very much techno-optimistic solar punk vibes. And then it was like, pitch your idea Monday, show your build on Friday, and then in the meantime, you can just like build it here with everybody around and asking questions. So it's very interesting as a concept, right? Because it really makes you step out of the comfort zone in terms of like engaging, participating with life as you're building, and building not for yourself. Because if you build in public, you're not building for yourself. It's kind of obvious.
Well, I mean, I think if you're building so the way I think of build in public is sharing your journey online. I would say if you're building anything, you're pretty much not building it for yourself. You're building because it benefits other people. So actually bringing them along on a journey is wise. And if you think about it, it's, I think there's a lot of these things which are actually super retro, because if you go back to hunter-gatherer, you didn't have privacy. I mean, okay, you could go walk off into the forest by yourself, like you could be alone whenever you wanted, but in general, you didn't have privacy. You were always around other people and in dialogue with them, right? So you were always building or doing things in public in conversation with others. And now, right, nor before AI, it'd be like, okay, I published 1,000 conversations online. Who's going to watch that? Nobody, right? I mean,
Nobody.
But with AI will happily listen to it to any amount, right? It's hungry. It says like, feed me, I want more. I want to understand. And through that, you can find out of those thousands conversations the people you should be talking to, the pieces of conversations which are interesting and connect with your ideas, right? I'm not a super networker, but I talk to a lot of people. And just yesterday, I had almost word for word the same conversation, I heard somebody say almost word for word the same things that you said around value and building a new thing. And I'm like, my God, I need to connect, right? We need to connect these conversations and these people. Whether you work together or not, you need to know about each other, right? So with AI, things flip completely, and the more high quality signal we can feed it, the richer of an intelligence we can get out of it.
I totally agree with that. It's tricky though, because it's like, so I'm building 4 AI agents for the island network. Essentially, I'm building strategy Zara, which is the first one, because its strategy is much easier with LLMs than precise operational things. Operations, business development, and then there will be a metaverse and artistic component as well. But what I'm seeing is that I can really get a lot of good quality stuff because I'm working one-on-one. So there's this loop being created between what I feed the AI and what the AI is feeding back to me. So there's like this loop that's benefiting from my coherence, my own coherence, and my own integrity of intent. When you introduce several people, it becomes possible to do that if you have high level attunement in curation. When it becomes really tricky to maintain that, and then I still don't know how to do it, but I'm thinking about how to do it with many layering stuff, is that when you introduce interactions with other people that would be able to inform the AI. So the AI informing people, it's really easy, right? It's like you build it, the integrity, you build the machine, you build a knowledge pool, and then the AI informs people. That's great. But like to reach a level of collective intelligence, like you were saying, you need to create those feedback loops back up between the participants and the AI. And to do that properly, you do need to have either a good level of curation in the pool of participants that are co-creating with the same AI, or have some mechanism that the AI is able to maintain on its own to affect that curation on its own. And that part will be really, really hard to do, I think, or
So
tricky somehow.
exactly like you say, it's about curation. So who do we invite into these conversations? Two, it's about setting the themes of the conversations so that there is a kind of a structure. And three, with coherence, my focus is not on building the AI, and the hope is to partner with different AI providers who are smarter and better than, for me, AI is still a bit of a magic wand. But I do know that getting good data and getting good input will be very important, especially if we wanted to understand a field, and conversations are the way to do it. So it's win-win-win, right? The people having the conversations already get a benefit from the conversation, right? So easy. Two, a few people will watch those conversations, or some people, they will get the benefit easy. And then whatever value and connections the AI can squeeze out on top of that will be additional value. So even I think if the AI is kind of weak at the start, there is this pool of people working on things I'm interested in. I can have a few conversations and they're published and my project is promoted, all of this. That already has enough value to get it going.
For sure. Like you're creating essentially the coherence project is to create this pools of wisdom that are, there and ready to be accessed, whether directly by someone diving into the videos or with the help of AI to pinpoint the topics and the areas and the relevant sections.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So continuing, what kind of projects would you like to have conversations with in Coherence? What kind of questions?
So having met you in person, like last year in Lisbon, I had the benefit of meeting you in person, which was great, and then you gave me a very important piece that I was missing. And then I wasn't able to be at the gathering, but like I'm looking forward to having this more online and then easier to access things. Um, I think the most important, well, everything is important at this point. Like everything that you're putting in here, I think it feels relevant and important. But like for me, my focus is very strong on this. Like, how do we um, bring this, merge this spirituality and art and science and technology? Another aspect of this merge, it's seen as STEAM. So instead of STEM, we add art and we create STEAM. And this is what one of my co-founders has been going on about. It's like, no, let's integrate this. So building experiences, building connections that are aligned on this merge that needs to happen, or it needs to happen. We would want it to happen because it unlocks true creativity. It unlocks the true benefits for the long term. And also it ensures coherence, right? You cannot keep, like, if you want to reach the level of planetary, inclusive, peaceful civilization, healthy civilization, we can't get rid of a part of the people. We can't ship them off to new planets. We have to have these conversations beyond our jurisdictional borders, beyond our political barriers, beyond our, like, sort of making bridges and making these connections is super important. And this is where Cyprus, I think it will be such a key piece, because Cyprus has been doing that for ages and ages and ages, and they're still doing very actively right now, promoting these bridges and these connections and trying to bring everyone together in a peaceful sanctuary type environment. So again, like holding those. So you were talking about triggering, like creating spaces where people can be triggered in a constructive way. It's like, for me, it's like holding this tension between the opposites and being able to engage with the conflict and with the tension in a constructive and playful way, rather than a very aggressive, very fearful, very competitive, like one has to win type of way. Because in reality, nobody wins. Like if we play at the level of the tension, polarity, like nobody will win ever, because that's the essence of the thing. It's the tension needs to be there always. So the only way is to be able to hold the tension and then see what comes up constructively. Like I call this constructive conflict resolution or generative conflict. So generative conflict is about holding the tension and seeing what new things would come when people are able to just sit with it. As you said, it's like, work through your triggers in a very respectful way and then see what emerges afterwards, right?
Yeah. I mean, your triggers point at the truth, but they're not a truth in and of themselves, as all of our emotions are, right? Cool. Okay. Well, welcome to Coherence.
Thank you. Glad to be here.